typically when you look at urbanization trends across the globe, currently over 50% of the Earth's population lives in cities, and that number is projected to increase by about 65% by 2050. People living in marginalized neighborhoods are probably going to face the extremes of climate a lot more than people living in more affluent neighborhoods, for the simple reason that climate change would interact with existing vulnerabilities. We know that there are several cities in India that have been projected to run out of water by 2050. In fact, there was a big scare a few years ago about the fact that, several Indian cities are just going to run out of water. What are you going to do after that? So the point I'm trying to make is that different parts of India have different geographies. And having a one-stop solution towards addressing climate change pan-India might not be the most effective, and that solutions have to be tailored to specific geographies in which so you need to have locally derived contextual solutions to climate change if we have to tackle it effectively in a country as large and diverse as India. The reasons that I chose Bangalore is because it's one of those cities which is landlocked. There is no major river flowing through it. But here's what was interesting to me. So we looked at old maps of Bangalore between 1885 and the present day. And if you look at the wells and lakes of Bangalore, that's where the change is. So Bangalore was largely an agrarian landscape, and therefore you had all those little green spots which were agricultural patches, like about 1,960 wells between 1885 to 490 wells in 1935. Also note that the decline of wells seemed to be associated with decline of agriculture in the region. There was a shift from collective action, which is locally managed, community-based resource management, to the state actually saying that we are going to take responsibility for upkeep, management, and get returns from the agricultural produce that is produced in that region. But the moment these different priorities come into picture, without taking into account the local social ecologies, that would mean the start of a decline of a water body. What we did essentially was we looked at, so the country has got its National Action Plan on Climate Change, and of late there have been several cities that have been creating specific action plans for climate change that are very urban focused. But what we looked at was how do these cities approach climate change. But what was interesting was the biggest focus was on technocentrism. Let us create ways in which we can track climate change. Let us create technological solutions that can combat the effect of climate change. Let us invest in carbon sequestration technologies that sort of mitigate climate change. So you had a plan for a landlocked city which would speak about sea level rise, which did not make sense in that context at all. You have funds allocated to a certain action plan, but you have literally no idea how to contextualize it into the city that is using those funds to create an actionable climate plan. So essentially what we need is that solutions need to be context specific. If Delhi has a problem with air quality, that is what it needs to focus on. There needs to be increased focus on nature-based solutions. Plantations alone will not cut it. You need to work with communities who also have their own store of traditional ecological knowledge. We also need increased focus on different forms of marginalization. What happens to livelihoods? What are the trade-offs involved when creating certain action plans? These are not problems that have emerged out of nowhere. There's a long tradition of inequity and marginalization that we need to address. Without addressing that, there is just no way we can progress forward.